Hey guys, what's going on? This is Greg with Full Court Nerd. Just wanted to give you a heads up. It is officially sweater weather. And no, I'm not talking about the colder weather coming across our great, beautiful nation of ours. I'm talking about the start of the NHL regular season. I know you're excited. I'm excited. Hockey is really my favorite sport. People like football, they like baseball, like basketball. Hockey kind of combines the teamwork and the physicality, and not to mention, they're doing everything on ice too, which makes it a whole lot harder. I play a little bit of hockey. I'm not fantastic by any stretch of imagination, but it's a blast to play, and I really enjoy it. If you've got an ice rink near you, I highly encourage it. So I thought, let me go ahead and get you guys ahead of the curve, so to speak. So here are my predictions for the Stanley Cup Playoffs for the 2014-2015 season. Before we go into that, though, I want to give you a little bit of an insight on how the playoffs work in NHL. Really, they can only kind of be compared to the NBA since there's 8 teams on being in the playoffs from each conference, but they're a little bit different than the NBA. So in the NHL, you've got 2 divisions in each conference, and in each division, you're going to have a division winner that's obviously going to get the playoff spot, and then the next 2 teams in each division. So basically, if you go just off of that, you've got 6 teams right there in each conference. Then there are 2 wildcard teams that can come from any division in that conference. So without further ado, let's get to it. Now, starting with that Atlantic division, I think Tampa Bay Lightning are going to win that division outright. They're bringing back a great team. Steven Stamkos, if he can stay healthy, I think he's going to have a great year. Bishop in goal is just I think a great asset, and I think he's actually underrated too. So I think Tampa Bay is going to win the Atlantic division, and then your next 2 teams in that division is going to be the Montreal Canadiens, or the Habs, if you will, and then the Boston Bruins. Chara, if you haven't seen him, he's the captain for the Bruins. He is a monster of a man. He is like 7'9" and a half, 12 inches, something like that, something crazy, something stupid. He is, and then you put skates on him, he just looks out of place out there. Let's talk about the Metropolitan Division. I think the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to eke out a close division race at the end against the Philadelphia Flyers, but you got to give the edge to a team that can trot out Crosby, Malkin, and have Marc-Andre Fleury in the net for you. So obviously that will leave the Philadelphia Flyers, and I also think the New York Rangers, the defending Eastern Conference champions, I think they're going to get in there as well. Let's talk about the Eastern Conference wildcard teams. I think the Columbus Blue Jackets, they were by far, in a way, the best of the rest, so to speak, last year. I don't think they're going to drop off any. But the one team that I think is going to be kind of the upset, so to speak, will be the Toronto Maple Leafs. They've got a lot of talent on the team, they just haven't really performed that well. Dion Phaneuf is going to have to prove that he is not only worthy of that captaincy, but also that big contract that he just signed. I think the Maple Leafs are going to get that last spot. I don't think they'll go far in the playoffs, but I think they'll get that last spot and really energize a great fan base that is in need of something to cheer for. Going over to the Western Conference, we're going to start with the Central Division. Now, that was a race that was very exciting last year between the Chicago Blackhawks, the St. Louis Blues, and the Colorado Avalanche, with the Avalanche actually sneaking up and taking that division from everybody else. Now, I think those 3 are going to be battling for the division again. I think Chicago's going to be playing a little bit better than they did last year in the regular season, then take that division. Colorado really played above and beyond what I think they're actually capable of, and really kind of continuing on a year-in, year-out basis. But Chicago, St. Louis, Colorado, they're going to be the 3 in that Central Division. Doesn't really matter how you put them. Moving over to the Pacific Division, just like the Central Division, I think we're going to have the same 3 teams as last year. Doesn't really matter who's going to win the division. You're still going to have Anaheim, Los Angeles, San Jose. They're all going to be fine for that division spot, so to speak. All 3 are going to make the playoffs. Let's just go ahead and give it to the Ducks, though. And really, there's not going to be a lot of change from last year's playoffs to this year's playoffs. I think the Wild are going to get in again. They're an exciting team to watch. They've got a lot of depth at goalie, which is something that is kind of really huge in hockey. You're only as good as your goalie in most cases anyways. But I will say that I believe the Nashville Predators are going to take the final playoff spot. I am a huge fan of Pekka Rinne, and again, he's just a monster of a guy. Doesn't really need to move around a lot, but he is agile as all get out. Let's go on and talk about the Eastern Conference Finals. I think it's going to be the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Montreal Canadiens. The Canadiens were there last year, just got a couple of bad breaks. I do not think that they have enough to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. Bishop, like I said, he's an underrated goaltender, and Stamkos, if he can stay healthy, he is going to lead the league in goals, if not be in the top 3 for sure. On the other side of the continent, so to speak, but not really, I think you're going to have the Chicago Blackhawks up against the Los Angeles Kings, just like we did last year. However, I think that the Blackhawks are going to pull off the, wouldn't even say an upset, because they're the last 2 Stanley Cup winners, but I think the Blackhawks are going to pull it off. If Crawford can be somewhat of a decent goalie, I'm not a huge fan of Corey Crawford. I think he gives up too many soft goals. He is, he gets he's got a high save percentage, but when you need that big goal saved, he gives up the easy ones and just is frustrating beyond belief if you're a Blackhawks fan. But I think Chicago has an amazing team. Adding Richards in the offseason is going to shore up that second line. I think Chicago is going to take on Tampa Bay in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So that gives us a Stanley Cup final of the Chicago Blackhawks against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, typically, I do like Bishop a lot better than Corey Crawford. Like I said earlier, I cannot stand Corey Crawford. With that said, I think the Blackhawks have a much better team. They've got a lot more depth than the Lightning do. If Bishop was over on the Blackhawks, without a doubt, there's no question the Blackhawks win this. I think this is going to be a good series. I think it's going to be a very long series, very competitive, back and forth, high emotions, all that jazz. But I think the Blackhawks end up pulling it off just because they've got the experience and they've got the talent. So let me know what you think. Those are my predictions for the 2014-2015 NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs. But like I said, I want to know what you think. Leave a comment below. Let's get into a nice discussion. What I've learned is hockey's kind of got the most passionate fans, so let's see if that's true. Get me on Twitter at FullCourtNerd. See you on the green. Thanks for watching our video. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us over at Facebook.com/FullCourtNerd or on Twitter at FullCourtNerd.